Hey guys, it's Nolan and Jason here with Plumbing Webmasters.
Howdy.
Today's topic is slap-on plumber marketing. Yeah, slap-on plumber marketing. So
Slap on plumbing.
slap-on, 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 slap-on. All right, so I had a conversation with a guy, and it makes me think about these sorts of things. Nice guy, signed up as a client, and he had signed up for this tool that allowed him to show the locations of where his jobs were. So,
Right.
and he said, and I went through some stuff that we did. I'm not going to sit here and sell all that, but I went through data pins. And he said, I got that already. I said, got what? And he used our word for it, which we use the word pins. And I'm like, what do you mean you got it? And I restrained, yeah.
Oh, no, you don't.
Yeah, I restrained myself from, reprimanding that or saying anything about it. But I said, well, what exactly do you have? He said, well, we do that. I said, you show where the jobs were, and like, he said, yeah, I'm doing that. And I said, well, I kept talking to him. I'm fumbling around his site looking, and I'm like, hey, where is it? I'm trying to find it.
Oh, this is the one you told me about earlier.
Yeah, I said, I'm trying to find it on here, and I'm not drawing conclusions at this point. I'm just looking at it. I've gotten good at, when I look at sites, it's really just doing it for so long. I'm not really there to judge it. They're all bad, it's not, it's like everybody's similarly.
I'm not going to judge you, but this is terrible.
But I don't sit there, I don't get joy over it or anything.
Yeah.
I don't
It's kind of depressing, actually.
I don't have an ego over it. I'm just here to help. We're here to help
Right.
them, but people ask me, they laugh like that sometimes. They're like, well, Nolan, I said, I don't judge these. I said, they're all bad. I said, yours is bad. Everybody's bad, but I don't care. I'm glad you have a website. I talk about the positives. It's nice that you got a site, even though it's no good. And what, is that funny, Jason?
Yeah, and I think everybody agrees with me. That's funny.
I don't get it sometimes, but I said, the site's no good, but you got it put up, and you got reviews, you got some tenure, and I said it's better than having nothing at all. So,
Having a pile of garbage is better than having nothing.
yeah, I don't mean it like that at all, but I guess, but so yeah, and we're looking at it. He said, "Why? I hadn't been able to find it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't find it either." So.
And if it's hidden, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So if even if it's got a difficult, what do you call it? The user interface. Even if it's semi-hidden, if it's just hard to find.
Yeah.
Google's like, well, this is on the server technically, but you're not really
It's like
making
there's
it.
no links from the home page.
Yeah,
It's hard to get to.
Is this content really important?
Yeah. It's like it doesn't look like you think it's important, so maybe we shouldn't think it's
Why
important.
should we
That's how
do
they
it?
view it. Yeah.
That is how they view it. So we're looking at it, and I'm like, I'm just trying to, there's some city pages or something. Anyway, we can't find it. And he said, well, every month they go over it, and they tout everything, and they show it to me. And he sent me, I can send it to you. It's just that it doesn't matter. But he sent it, and evidently they do have logs of where he's done work. And if it has any benefit, it's like 90% diminished at this point.
Yeah.
And it's not just this one thing we're talking about. This is like the overall crap work theme of digital marketing when it comes to working with a contractor, a plumber, anybody.
Right.
Just like, hey, man, I'm a pretty slick sales guy, and I've gotten onto something that I know just a little bit more than you do, enough to where I know you can't refute what I'm telling you.
I know these buzzwords that you've never heard.
Yeah. And so I'm going to sell you on it, and got very low business ethics here, and I don't really give a shit whether you stay in your house or not, as long as you pay my, $1,100 a month in this case, by the way.
Wow, really?
So yeah, this one stupid slap-on that was completely ineffective because the company that sold it is complete hacks that white labeled some software that is marginally good in the first place and sold it to this poor guy. And it's not this guy's fault. This is actually a pretty cool guy because I picked up a category related to plumbing that I don't normally do, So
There's a long history, but
Yeah, I don't normally
that look.
I don't normally work with him, but I'm like, this guy's sharp. I'm going to work with him. I like him, and I liked him because he was open, and he said, Nolan, what sucks about your industry is that, and maybe I didn't realize I'd insulted his website. You think? Anyway, so he's like, what's bad about your industry is, he was actually a little more well-spoken than I was, but he said, what's bad about your industry is that people call me like this nice girl. I can imagine this girl sounded well-spoken, and he enjoyed speaking with her as a dude, you know, and he said he told this girl that sounded good on the phone to him, said, what sucks is that I have to trust you and gut check and just buy something. And then I get screwed over and over again. And if you're just a good salesperson, I'm out money. Right. And largely there's a lot of that that's true, a lot of it. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and I said, he was talking about all these people that screwed him around. And I said, unfortunately, there's no deal we can go sign that guarantees a certain amount of profit as a business person, and everybody's dandy and nobody gets screwed. And so in fact, it's like dead opposite of that. You're buyer beware, and then people end up getting slightly educated and then trying to do a better job. The reality is they still have to gut check and buy.
Yeah. I was about to say buyer beware doesn't cover it, because a lot of times it's just be ready to take your licks, because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I've had it happen. I still have it happen. I still take licks from time to time, and I still try new stuff from time to time.
Right.
Happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
We constantly spend money that doesn't get returned, and we get screwed here and there on stuff.
Because we look at it, we go through a logical process. If we do this and this and this, and if this works a certain way, this could return this way. But you never know if it's going to happen unless you try it.
And very few things return, right? In fact, we were just talking about it right before we came in here. It's like if we do the business this way, it's more assured. If we do it this way, it's got a bigger upside, but it may not return.
But it's the least likely scenario.
The least likely scenario. The point of all this is that you do have to get a little bit skilled and make a better gut decision.
Right.
This guy did get more skilled and called us instead of responding only to people that called him, which is where the other two people came from. I confirmed that, by the way. They both reached out to him.
They were cold calls.
I want to say I don't have a problem with a cold call from the standpoint of a business making money.
Right.
On a fundamental level, I like any marketing that's ethical and makes money.
Right.
So, end of story.
That wasn't I wasn't like.
No, I know you weren't. I know you weren't
bashing cold calls.
Well, I was slightly. That's why it wasn't you. It was me. So I lobbed it up to bash it, but I'm not necessarily bashing it. However, when someone only responds like that, they don't. That's not the greatest position. Doesn't mean no one good would ever cold call, but if you're only reacting to a sales pitch and you're not putting any of your own thought into it. Right. And you're just then getting sold on a human contact, that's bad. Yeah. That's probably bad. Doesn't mean if somebody calls like that, you better have some basis.
Just to be clear, what this company had done is they had white labeled this software. And then regardless of whether the software has the potential to be effective, they didn't actually take the content that he was generating in the form of his work activity. It didn't appear on his site.
They got some of the information, but it did not appear on the site. So I'm glad you brought it back up, because I wasn't specific. When things aren't...
So in other words, this effort he put in was out there in the ether somewhere and not benefiting him in any way.
It's possible that these connections, they were getting texts and emails for reviews, and something else might have been tagged into the Google account, maybe. But you and I both know that because it wasn't integrated to the service and city pages properly on the website, that he lost 80% at least of the value.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
So hence the word slap on plumber marketing.
Right.
And so this guy was paying $1,100 a month. These two guys that own this little white label company had straight up just kind of defrauded the guy, sold a bill of goods, and then set up something. They did provide a service, but it was extremely unethical.
Yeah.
Because the reason it's unethical, they obviously probably see themselves a little bit differently than I see them. But I believe, I'm not 100% sure unless they have some sort of psychotic break in their head, that they know that they're unethical on some level. They probably just don't know how unethical they actually are.
Yeah, they signed him up for this thing and did not even use it to the best, to its potential.
I don't even know what he was looking at. I'm actually going to send it to you now.
Okay.
But I don't even know where this came from, this data, and where it was residing. But the point of it is that whether it's this stuff or a citation or some sort of mapping thing or blogging even, or, I mean, it goes on and on, or linking. Like all this stuff takes somebody's crappy website that 99% of people have.
Right.
And then they slap it on to the crap that's already there and say this automated generated program is going to somehow tell Google that you're great and make you go up in search rankings. And it defies basic logic.
Yeah.
Because we know the algorithm's smart. I mean, the algorithm's turning to AI at this point, its own AI.
I mean, several of the things you mentioned, linking, content, citations, all of those are important.
Even paid ads.
On their own, or
Yeah.
paid ads. We could argue about blogging, but we won't get into that.
Paid leads.
But if they're not integrated properly with an overall effort, like you said, the slap-on
The
idea,
algorithm,
it doesn't help. It doesn't work.
they won't see it at all. They'll barely see it. They'll see the cruddy effort and judge it as it deserves with the slap-on effort, which isn't good enough to truly compete in a marketplace. If it's a lead purchase or a paid ad, the conversion's going to be lower.
Right.
Because the branded presence is horrible.
Yeah, they follow an ad, but then they go to a site that they're like, well, this doesn't look legit. Yeah.
So but the agencies, because 95+% of them are horrific, want to sell a program because they don't have to do much, like this guy, and they don't have to have much skills, but they'd love to get a monthly check from somebody. Yeah. Actually, more money than we charge currently. And we do hordes of things, and they want that kind of money with no overhead, without the responsibility, without infrastructure.
Well, yeah, they want to do one piece,
Yeah.
get paid an exorbitant fee,
Right.
and not do all the pieces that it has to connect to in order to function properly. I'm going to bring up one of my favorite professionally offended stories. We had a client called in, and it turned out he had signed up with a third party to do some extra stuff on his website, and it was the definition of slap-on. Right. And this person had been sending him reports of all the stuff they were doing. They were charging him $900 a month. And he sent me this report, and I'm like, what am I looking at? And I got him on the phone, and I'm like, what is this? And he says, well, she said she was building a social fortress. And I was like, what the hell is a social fortress? I had to go look it up. And it was a new buzzword at the time. This was about 2 years ago. And I read into this, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have been taken for a ride. This is garbage.
So the social fortress, as I recall, is just every no-name social media platform.
Every possible social media platform of any kind, they would go out and create a profile for that business on that platform. And that's all they were doing. They weren't like then managing the profile and posting on it or anything like that. Yeah. All they were doing was protecting his brand. And I looked through some of these, and it was stuff like digital art communities, and this guy is a roofer.
Yeah, but it was listings of all of them, which took almost no work, they are almost 100.
And I looked at a couple of listings. It was nothing but his business name and an email address or phone number. There was no other information. It's not even like they had curated the presence. They had just created the most basic form of it.
But it came with a $900 a month fee.
A $900 a month fee. And what they would do is every month they would send him a list of about 20 new profiles they'd created.
Yeah.
And creating one of these profiles takes about 10 minutes if you're slow. And so they basically had a huge list, and they were doing 20 of them a month in a couple of hours or whatever, sending him the list and then kicking back the other
So
30
the
days.
the reason you were professionally offended is multifold. One,
Oh yeah, in like every direction.
The client was paying as much as we were charging.
Yeah, actually, he was paying them more than he was paying us
for
at the time.
nonsense. The client was questioning our work based upon this to justify ourselves when we did all of it.
He gave me the "What have you done for me lately? How are things performing?" call.
And the unethical company was using this to show them and indirectly trying to take advantage of our work that we'd done, like lay claim to the success of the work that we'd done. And there's some other stuff in there too, but but that's and they
were charging him a very large fee for something that had no benefit to him whatsoever.
Like literally had no benefit. That term didn't really take off. But
it didn't. People, fortunately, people figured out that it was a bunch of.
I don't know if they figured it out or just was like, it doesn't sound entirely accurate. Yeah. Citations are still a big one for people. Like they're just done as part of our regular service, but people will call and say, "Oh, we have this call every once in a while." They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to keep using you guys, but I'm using these other people to do my Google Map optimization." It's like, well. We're already doing that. Yeah, I was like, what do they do? It's like, well, it's like, no, we do all of that. They're not the ones doing that. We're the ones doing your map work. Is that at best they've got a program for citations that is a one-time deal that kicks out a report to you every month. I said, it's not worth paying for. One time isn't bad to have it done, but the days of citations being a one-stop thing was 5 years ago.
You do them when you first get them as a client. You make sure all that's done. If they change their address or phone number, you do a refresh.
Right.
And that's it.
And it's just one of many
Yeah, it's one of a giant pile of things you have to do.
And it used to be one of the top 5 things, and now it's one of 100 things, and it's just one more thing to do.
Right.
But people love taking citations, slapping it on because I'm not mentioning the platforms, but there's multiple programs you can buy into. Charge somebody hundreds of dollars per month, and you don't do jack again, ever.
You literally go to one of these services.
Right.
You enter the correct information. You say, this is them. It costs like $50 for a cheap one.
A month or $30 a month.
Yeah, maybe a little more.
30 to...
Depending.
Yeah.
But, and you just submit it, and this software takes care of it, and they charge the client a 300% markup.
So that's what they do with citations and the map rankings. That's and just to be clear, they absolutely in no shape or form do a better job than we do on it. It is vastly less than what we do.
Right.
So, but they do that one. They do this one where they can tell where they've done jobs. That's a slap on. They do paid ads. Paid ads is a slap-on. We're not going to work on all the best marketing techniques we could have, like redo your website. Here's a big clue that you've got a problem with who you've gone with. I'm getting everything done. Oh, someone's doing your SEO? Yeah, I'm like, did they, I don't see much content on your site, and the site looks old. And so, well, they're using my site. That's my site. They're just doing the SEO, and I'm like, they really can't.
What are they doing to the site?
Can't do the SEO really without this. There's stuff they can do, but a lot of the main stuff is not done. And I'll send them, I was like, let's go look at one of our clients' sites. And they'll go, okay. I said, do you notice anything different about our client sites and your site? Do you think that Google would like to see this stuff? Does this make sense? And then, I'll go through it with them and explain it to them. But you think that's insulting to?
No, it's funny that we have to do that because we run into the concept of that's mine, that's my website. I paid $2,000 for that 10 years ago or something like that.
It was bad 10 years ago.
Your website is not a piece of real estate. It does not appreciate in value.
The design. The design, yeah.
I mean, yeah, in those terms.
The URL is
the domain.
Yeah.
That, I'm not talking about the domain. I'm talking
okay.
about the site. The
Agreed.
design and the content and all that does not appreciate in value. The opposite. It depreciates in value and it has to be refreshed and redone at regular intervals.
Yeah.
Your website is not your house. It's your car.
Yeah.
And you run it until it's not working anymore, and then you get a new one.
Yeah, I don't have any great references for it, but it depreciates like a mobile home times 100. Like a mobile home times 100 on depreciation.
Your website's a mobile home, and every algorithmic update is potentially a tornado.
Yeah, there
That's
you
a
go.
good one.
Yeah, I like that.
We're going to use that again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the value of it, because we literally have to redo them every 3 to 4 years, and they get updates constantly.
Yeah,
so once
they're constantly updated, and we like he said, every 2 years as part of our service to our clients, we
not 2
to 3. It depends.
2 to 3. Yeah.
A lot of times they'll call in at 2, 2.5, and we'll go ahead and give it to them.
There's been updates the whole stinking time.
Yeah, we're updating the whole time, but
we
we do a complete hard refresh and redesign.
Otherwise,
2
it'll
3 years.
Get corrupt, break, and get viruses on it nonstop.
Yeah, it can have software trouble. It can just get old. It can have a design feature that was hot at this point that now is causing it that Google has decided they don't like due to excess JavaScript loading or something like that. It can be 100 different things. I
had a client or a potential client call with a marketing manager in the office, and he was a nice guy, really. We said, yeah, we need some help, and we're kind of looking for some SEO. It's like, something's been happening to our website every once in a while. The problem was it had 147 pages on it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to work with this old crap. And sorry, it's just like these old sites that people think they know what they're doing, and they turn into these dinosaur behemoths.
Is that the one that had 8 About Us pages?
Maybe. I don't remember. No, it wasn't, because we picked up that client.
Yeah, okay, so this is a different one.
This is one we didn't pick up, because I think, I don't know, it doesn't matter. And he's like, well, no, because I wasn't going to redo this site.
Okay.
He said, well, we keep getting ads that pop up on it. I said, ads? Yeah, every once in a while, an ad will pop up for some malware protection or Cialis or something. And I'm like
on their website?
On their website.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
it's like,
and I'm like,
put it in a dumpster and set it on fire.
Yeah, but people are looking at it at that website with value, slapping crud onto it, and sometimes it means the business owner, when the site got larger like this, that they're trying to do what they wanted to do. In fact, this week alone, I had 2 people call up and say, I read you one of the emails. I was like, oh God, here's one. And the guy said, looking for someone to write some content for me on pages such as such, up to a couple thousand words each. And please confer. And I'm like, oh God. And it's like,
in case you didn't pick it up, we don't just do content on existing sites.
Well, it's not that, really. It's just that somebody doesn't understand it all.
But that's why we don't do that. Because they don't understand it. It's not effective, and it's not really good.
Well, you need a lot of content. You just can't dictate it, from 1999.
Yeah, and content can be another slap-on.
Yeah.
If you take an existing site and you just slap in 2,000 more words on 3 different pages, you haven't really done anything. It is another
slap-on.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm calling from 2007. I need 2,000 words per page right now. I'm okay with copied content.
I had one the other day. I did a design consult with a new client, and I said, we want something that's really trendy, and I can't remember what it was, but they threw something from like 10 years ago at me, like a specific design style.
Like a flash star intro?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, because that's almost 30 years.
I'd like an intro page that you have to click to enter.
And I was just like, now we can do that, but I have to tell you, I don't advise it, because to achieve that, you have to load extra JavaScript that offers nothing in terms of actual usability, and it slows down the site, so I wouldn't advise it. And I was able to talk them out of it.
I wasn't really planning on going down this road here, but it is connecting with professional services. Like, I have an extreme amount of respect for our accounting and CPA, because my dad's CPA, right?
Right.
And I don't go up to the CPA and say, hey, listen here, bucko. I found this tax law from 1954, and you're going to do it. And this is how it's going to go down. And I found this over here, and
I want this tax law that's meant to apply to farmers with 2 tractors,
Yeah.
but I want you to apply it to my business.
Yeah, I was reading about Texas secession and paying taxes, and this is what we want to do, you know? And they look at you like, are you crazy? Like, are you? Yeah.
Want to go to jail?
Yeah, so, but people call us up for some reason and say, hey, man, I was reading some blogs about 2,000 word pages from a few years ago. I've been in this damn game since 1987, and this is what's going to go down on my site. Can you play ball? Can you do it, brah? You know,
No.
But people come up and they say, hey, do this, do that, but the slap on, I'm not gonna. It's not a client problem. All this stuff has to be learned in business, but the slap on is people getting taken advantage of and getting bad services. And it doesn't mean the guy that allowed it to happen is dumb or anything. It just means that it's a complicated world. People are trying to make money.
It's a complicated industry. And I mean, and honestly, sometimes the people doing this stuff are themselves not bad actors. They're not, they think what they're doing is useful because they've fallen for some line that they got taught somewhere.
Yeah, but that person knows they're dumb at some point. Yeah, they do.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror, am I an idiot?
Am I doing something unethical? Will they turn me away at the pearly gates? Is there going to be an issue? Yeah. Let's do recap and like draw some conclusion. The conclusion of it is these items are needed, some of them, and more, but they have to be integrated properly by professional services.
Anybody that calls you essentially selling you this one tiny thing, and especially if they blow it up
the secret
to being,
sauce.
yeah, the secret sauce, and this is the new thing from Google, be skeptical.
And you may need it, but it needs to be done as well as possible.
Yeah, it needs to be properly integrated. It cannot be slapped on.
Yeah.
And, call a company doing a full suite of professional services and say, if you want to say, hey, do you do this thing too? And they can tell you whether they do it, how they do it, if they think it's important. Sometimes, like the old social fortress, it's entirely horseshit.
I think that the average person can tell, speaking about a gut check, whether someone understands stuff and is well-spoken because it's corporate environment, how they run their procedures, and some high-end sales jargon and technique, a sales conversation, if they'll just stop for a second and think about it and then take a minute to stop and think, But anyway, so yeah, a lot of the stuff is needed, but it's slapped on ineffectively, and it essentially doesn't work. We find it all the time. So this software, in fact, we find all the time put on improperly, even when it's on the website.
Yeah.
So,
it's usually, even when we do find it on the website, it's done badly enough that it's having little benefit.
80+% of the time, it's done very poorly.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's save some of this other stuff. We went down some roads there that were whole different
That's normal.
categories.
That's totally normal.
See you guys.
Take it easy.